Hello everyone, you're listening to Northern Flights, a Park Pro podcast keeping you up to date with the people, tournaments, and culture of disc golf in Canada and beyond. Consider becoming a Patreon today at patreon.com/parkpro. Find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by DiscGolfPark. And now your hosts, Andre, Jesse, and Matt.
Hello. What's up? It's
Wait,
just no Jesse.
Something's different.
It's a little lonely down here in the basement.
I kind of like this just two pretty bearded faces thing we got going on now.
Well, I hate to ruin your party, but we do have 3 pretty faces. In lieu of not having Jesse, we have a very special guest appearance, a guest co-host, we'll call it.
No way.
We have one Carrie Neal joining the show. You got it ready? You don't have it ready?
I didn't think we were going into it so fast.
All right, here we go.
Say it again.
All right, we have one Carrie Neal joining the show.
Hey guys.
Hey Carrie, how's it going?
Good. I got the horn. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, of course. I would say it's pretty special, but if you've listened, all of our listeners know the horn's not that special. We try to play at any excuse that we can. So
I love it when you guys do it. So it's cool. Thank you.
It's funny because like on the one that I have on my computer, I have to turn it down because it just like blasts your eardrum. So
Yep. It may or may not be the reason for Jesse not being in studio today.
Yeah. But we are so happy to have you on.
Carrie Neal from The Flight Pass, my favorite disc golf podcast. This is like one of those crossover episodes, like when the Jetsons were on the Flintstones.
Yeah, we're not that old though, right? Fingers crossed.
No.
I can't think of. Do they still do those mashup episodes, those crossover episodes?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do.
It's entirely our pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, totally. So on this week's episode, we have the Rusty Ratings recaps and a preview of this last final week coming up. We have Champions Cup recap, and we have some Park Pro and Canadian Disc Golf Tour news also coming up later. And then we'll get into a little debate and a bit of I thought of a silly question. It has to do with substitutes. So since we have a substitute co-host, I'll call it. Cool. But first, as always, we like to get into what we've each done in disc golf in the past week. So why don't we start with Matt? What you been up to?
Man, I've been doing disc golf via computer lately. been at the editing machine way more than I've been throwing discs around. But you know what? I got out for a single round at Hermitage, and the leagues have started here in Edmonton. So it was like out at a course, and there was just people everywhere. And I was like, oh, it's summer now. This is great.
Yeah.
And there was people like scrambling around like, hey, do you know how I can get started in this league thing? And I was just like, oh, it's time. It's here. Summer is here.
All the fair weather golfers are out.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a short transition from snow to shirtless dude bros at the disc golf course.
Yeah. Sometimes both at the same time, I'm sure, in some places. Yep. Carrie, what's going on? I know you were sick for a little while. You've been able to get out much?
I got 9 holes one day and 12 holes the other day, and that's about all I could do with my lungs.
Yeah.
I did go out for a full day with a couple other club members, Wes Eccleston and Ben Laidlaw, and we did a Pro D day. So we had 40 teachers for 2 sessions that we taught disc golf to on Monday. So that was pretty fun. Just getting disc golf into the schools and into the minds and hands of the teachers to pass on to their students. But other than that, I feel you, Matt. I've been in front of a computer 6 to 10 hours a day. TCOs around the corner, putting out fires, answering emails, communications key. So yeah, it's been pretty hectic, but it's going to be good.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've It's been an eventful last few days. I'll say it all kind of started with the golden tournament. Obviously, for before that, the 2 days leading up to that, for my regular work, I'm a carpenter on the side, and in addition to all this disc golf stuff, we had 2 very busy days at work. And there was a lot of socializing, and it was kind of a big group event. And then that led right into the Rusty Nugget, which we had, of course, we had more people sign up in the week leading up to it than, any other week and weeks combined. So it was like, we ended up with 70 people, and I think I had like 8 or 9 people drop out in the last couple of weeks. So it was, yeah, it was kind of crazy. And then I was initially planning on playing because it's golden. It's not a big course. I'm like, if there's ever going to be a tournament to play while you're TDing, that's it. But I'm really glad I decided not to, because they were running a kids camp at the same weekend at the same location. So, and if anyone's ever been to the golden course, the trail runs right through the golden course. So there's these kids just ripping on their bikes through the disc golf course, and luckily no one got hit. But there was one little incident, and it was towards the beginning of the round, and it must have been towards the beginning of the camp, because this dad and his kid were they were biking up hole 1, and must be their like regular shortcut to get to where they meet. And I was like, oh, hey guys, there's a disc golf tournament going on. You guys need to go on the path. And so the dad obviously just like quickly turns around, but he's kind of like panicking, and like tells his kid to turn around, and his kid's just like, oh, and he like falls over, and I'm like, oh no, that was my fault. And then I jokingly said to myself, well, I guess that's why he's at the kids' bike camp. So.
And if not, let me sign you up.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it was great. It was super fun, and obviously I got around it afterwards. And then the Sunday I managed to get to Calgary, and I played Forest Lawn for the first time, and I managed to get 9 holes in at Baker. There was 2 large groups that were teeing off of 1, so I went and started on hole 9 or hole 10, and it was great. So awesome. Yeah, it was great weekend of disc golf.
I heard great things about the Golden Tournament.
Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And another little tradition that Jesse and I had a little while ago is we used to always introduce what we were drinking. So I'm going to do it because I picked this one up, and I picked it up because I'm a little bit into the graphics and stuff. So I'll hold this in front of the camera. It's Tail Out Brewing from Castlegar, BC, and it's a single spay IPA, and it's obviously they have like a fishing thing going on. So, and I just like, as a graphics guy, I like the graphics, I like the logo, and I think it's good marketing. Cool. So, and the beer, it's pretty good.
Awesome.
It's pretty good. Not like the best, but pretty good.
Well, there you go. So, it's not awful, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cheers.
Well, I'm enjoying my coffee from a Ravenclaw mug this week, not because I identify as part of the Ravenclaw house, but because it was the cleanest one and it was the closest to the front of the cupboard. So,
that's
gotcha.
Awesome.
All the other mugs were taken up.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I'm a wine drinker. I'm Discs and Wine on Instagram. I'm drinking a 2021 Pinot Gris from 50th Parallel in Lake Country in Kelowna.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Now that we got all that out of the way, let's get into some disc golf stuff.
Well, we should tell people who Carrie Neal is, maybe.
I think we should. Carrie Neal. I have so much to say about Carrie Neal. I could do a podcast myself just talking about Carrie Neal. Carrie Neal is an amazing woman in disc golf. She does so much for the disc golf community, not just locally, but she hits up other tournaments. She's been down south. She's a very strong advocate for women's disc golf in Canada, especially. And she's gone down to Las Vegas and promoted the sport there and
Tucson.
Tucson. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And obviously she has a very strong history in both playing and running events. So we're very happy to have her on.
Not to mention three-time provincial champion in BC.
Thank you. It's so hard to hear nice things, like I do it because I love it, and it's the longest I've ever volunteered at anything, or I haven't even held a job as long as I've been in disc golf. Um, and I always just like, if I can make a difference for one person or impact one person's life, then my job is done. And to listen to you guys talk so kindly, just yeah, a little tear in my eye. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you, and one of the things that we kind of try to lean towards is that we believe we have a few newer disc golfers as well. So we like to direct our conversation that way. And I'm sure there are a few people that might not have heard of Carrie Neal, but I'm sure that, our longtime listeners and longtime players probably know who you are. So I think we'll lean towards the side of introducing you to those newer folks. So
Sure.
yeah.
Awesome.
So with that in mind, I think we can just jump right into sort of an interview style thing with you before we
Okay.
get to the co-hosting later. But I'm going to start this off because this is actually a question that I don't know is when and how did you start playing disc golf?
In 2000, my daughter was 2 years old, and we were living in Kamloops, and we were desperate to find something to do with her because we made the mistake of letting her out of the backpack carrier and out of the stroller. So now she wants to walk everywhere. So, your 10K hikes become 1 kilometer hikes in the same time span. So we were watching our local, I think it might have been like Shaw or something like that, a local TV station. And we saw Clint Anderson, who I'm now longtime friends with, showing off the front nine of Rose Hill. And I said to my husband, well, we throw a Frisbee all the time at the beach. This is so cool. And so we ripped down the dollar store, bought some beach Frisbees, quickly found out that was not the thing to do. But while we were there, we bumped into one of the original club members, Brent Ross, and he was selling discs out of the trunk of his car. So we bought a driver, a putter, and a mid-range. And so I had a soft magnet, an Eagle, and a Stratus. So not really a mid-range fairway driver. I don't know. So those were my first 3 discs. And then we went online and we ordered from Discovering the World down in the States, and we were hooked. And that was in 2000. And I played my first provincials event in 2001, and then hosted a whole bunch of small events, and then hosted the International Women's Cup, the B tier, in 2006. So I was the only steady female disc golfer in the Kamloops area for probably 10 to 12 years. The odd woman would come out, go to tournaments, but nothing on a regular basis like I was. I was golfing 5 days a week.
Yeah, and that was kind of leading in towards my next question was, as a woman in the game, how did you find those early years getting into the game and trying to find other females that played as well?
So I'm really competitive. I played sports all my life, all through high school. All my best friends and good friends in high school were guys. I was just like one of those girls who'd rather hang out with the guys and drink beer than, do my nails or get my hair done or whatever. So hanging out with the guys never intimidated me ever. And of course, I'm now privy to smack talk. I was super thick skin. My dad and I were like Montreal Canadian, Toronto Maple Leaf hockey fans. So there's like lots of aggression on Saturday night hockey in our house. So, but it was difficult not having another female to play with. They were down in Vancouver, the ones that were competitive. Shout out to Michelle Wilson. She's back on the scene now on the Sunshine Coast. But it was difficult. It was really difficult. A lot of guys were like, oh, this is my thing. I don't want my wife to golf with me on the weekend. Or, oh, you're so slow. Why don't you play from the women's tee pads? And I'm like, oh, you mean like the beginner tee pads? So there was a lot of pushback. And even when I went to the club and said, hey, I want to do this women's event, I want to invite all the top pros and I want them to come up here. And they're like, yeah, okay, we'll support you. Okay. What are you going to do for us? Like, what's going to happen? And I was like, well, I'll do a 1-day C tier for the men on the Saturday, but then I'm auctioning you guys off as caddies for Sunday. And they really started to buy in when we started to see the names like Juliana Corver and Valerie Jenkins and Elaine King and who else was here? Her name just fell right out of my head. I can see her right in front of me. Des Redding. Carrie Berloger, who's starting to come back on the scene now in California. Burl was her nickname. We had, I think, 31 women, but we had the who's who of past champs, present champs, and it was Val Jenkins' rookie year. And she actually, this was what really kind of made me realize about 2-3 years ago that I had made an impact back then on the sport. She was on Nate Doss's podcast, Running It, and they talked about her early days. And she said that she actually went to this event in Kamloops, and back then she won, and I think she won like $890, maybe $850. And she said that was a lot of money back then for a small B tier, but it was the money that seeded her trip to Japan. And that trip to Japan is what solidified her wanting to be a touring pro. And I was just kind of like, wow, like I hadn't heard that before. And
Yeah.
hey, I had an impact on the sport. Like you don't realize it, but like that many years later, you hear this story and it's like, holy, that's pretty cool. So,
That's really cool.
and those friendships are friendships I've kept. Like I went to the 2006 US Women's Disc Golf Championship. I was at 2014 Worlds and I was at 2016 Worlds. And now just this year I was down in Austin, Tucson, at the All-Stars. And I've made friends. Like I said on my podcast, I don't often fangirl anymore. It's and when I was in Tucson, I didn't get a single autograph from anybody. And they were just mingling with us. Like they're after their round, like, I'm standing there talking to Matty O, and Paul Macbeth is next to me signing an autograph for someone. And Katrina Allen standing over there having a conversation with a fan. Like it's a very cool event, but it was just, I felt more part of it than at it. And it was a really good feeling.
Yeah, totally.
That's
and you ran into Holland Hanley in the bathroom
I did in the lineup to the bathroom. I hadn't met her, but we interviewed her.
Yeah,
and I was like, "Okay, this is my opportunity." And she's like, "Oh, I recognize your voice."
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, that's good. I got a recognizable voice."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you were competitive and you played sports when you were younger. Were you playing team sports mostly? Did you play any other individual sports?
Team sports. I grew up in Logan Lake, which is a small town, half an hour outside of Kamloops. And at the height of it, there's maybe 5,000, 6,000 people in there. So it was high school sports. So even before high school, from like grade 4, grade 5, basketball, volleyball, baseball, soccer, if we had it. I played like local league baseball, like softball, but in high school, volleyball, basketball, and soccer. Yeah.
Cool. So every sport there is, basically.
Yeah. I'm old, right? Like when we were in high school, we didn't have like women's rugby or cheer or any of that kind of lacrosse or any of that kind of stuff. So it's just the basics.
And the teachers would come to you and say, "Carrie, you're playing on the volleyball team this year, right?" And there was only one answer. That's how it worked, right?
We weren't at basketball tryouts. What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned like trash talk. I remember, I think it was either after a tournament or after a skins event. Paige Pierce talked about how there's a sort of a difference between the men's and the women's game, where the women they have a sort of a different attitude about trash talk. And I've noticed that, it's sort of more socially acceptable for men to engage in trash talk on the course. And that's just part of our language. And as men, you sort of understand that it actually means that you care about, the person that you're golfing with. Do you think it's important to sort of make it more acceptable for women to be trash talking each other out on the course and sort of getting over some of these, societal roles of, women's competitiveness? Or do you think it should be the other way around? And do you think we need to sort of foster a different attitude on the course competitively to make it more obviously welcoming to women?
I think there's a time and a place for trash talk, and it's typically your local doubles or your league, or when you're with people that you're comfortable with. I would never trash talk in a group that I've never played with before. Like because I want everyone to feel comfortable and feel accepted and get to know me before I like say nice layup.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? Like, I don't ever want to make anyone feel excluded. And with the sport, with women being an underserved group, I work really hard to bring them in and be positive and uplift them and empower them. And, if I'm out with Christy Shields or I'm out with my girls and we'll tease each other or whatever, but that's comfort. And those are the people that we hang out with, and we know each other more than just as a disc golfer. But if you're hanging out with me, and I'm going to make sure you feel included. And I won't trash talk people around me if you're with me and you're new. I just don't want to set that precedence. like I said, there's a time and a place for it for sure.
Totally. And so you've obviously been pretty active in growing the women's game here in Canada, and especially in Western Canada. What do you think are the next steps to getting more women to play in this area? And obviously, you know, we've seen women stepping up as TDs across the province as well. What do you think we need to do to get even more women to get more involved in the sport, from an organizing standpoint and from playing more competitively, I'll say? Because you know, you mentioned on one of your podcasts and in the Crush documentary that we're seeing more women on the disc golf course, and it's true. I like the other day when I was in Calgary, I was surprised at
Yeah.
how many women I saw playing. But what do you think it will take to get them to take that next step?
So again, I think so. A lot of women play disc golf because it's a casual thing they can do with their husband or their family. A lot of women that play disc golf casually aren't competitive women. You know, maybe they run, or they might play volleyball on a team with their girlfriends from high school, or soccer on a team. But it's tough to get them to come play. And the ones that want to be competitive need to feel included by everybody. And I'll put it out there, like, there's still men in the local clubs, when they flip out doubles and they get a female partner, you know, they eye roll and they kind of look over at their buddies, and it's like, I don't want to, like, I even caught myself 2 years ago saying to one of our guys when we flipped out, and I said, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." He's like, "Why are you sorry?" And I'm like, that just fell out of my mouth. I said, I shouldn't be saying that, but you know, we just donated $5. I haven't played in 3 months. And he's like, "I'm just happy to be playing with someone new, and maybe I'll learn something from you, because I haven't been playing very long." And I thought, the world needs more men like that. And we need more women. And honestly, what happens is, and I'm noticing it in the communities that disc golf has been, it grew up, bigger communities where your clubs are 300, 400, 500 people. There's this little clutch of women that play on a regular basis, but they're not very inclusive. They might think they are, but there's some cattiness. There's some like, "Oh, I thought you're playing golf with me." And so even women don't realize that they're not being inclusive. And men, I don't think, realize it either. Like, they don't go to their way to say hi when they see a woman on the course, or they wait till there's another guy. And that might just be from the whole, don't approach a woman, don't talk to a woman, don't make a woman feel uncomfortable. Like, there's this whole thing that goes on in disc golf. And I just really think that creating more events for women, like a league. I do a handicap league, which is amazing, because I've had someone new. I had my friend's 70-year-old mom win one week. They all after 3 rounds have a handicap, and they come out and they're excited. We have CTPs. We played on a short course, so everyone has an opportunity to go for the ace or get their first birdie. Like, be really encouraging that way. Disc golf has a very steep learning curve, but it's very fast, especially if you're learning it amongst people that can teach you well, and you're on a smaller course. Like Rose Hill is where I learned to play disc golf, and only because I'm competitive, I stuck it out. It was a long course. It was the longest in Western Canada. So it's a twofold question. Population is a big part of it too, right? Like, you go down to the DFW area in Texas, and there's 113 courses within an hour and a half drive of Dallas. And the population is huge, and there's women playing everywhere, and it's population based, right? So last year I peaked out at 17 women at league, but we averaged about 12 every week, which is awesome. I've played with women. I've done it for 15 years, where 3 women showed up every week, 3 women. Yeah. So, you know, and we're very sparse in Canada between our cities and areas. Like down in Oregon, one of my West Side teammates, Madison Tomeno, is doing a women's series. So much like we have duck golf in BC, where it goes kind of around the lower mainland and the islands, in the Portland area, within like an hour and a half drive, they do like, I think it's 6 or 8 tournaments where it's strictly women. And you earn points, and they have leagues. And down in Texas, there's a group of women that are doing 8 tournaments. They're doing, I think it's 4 C tiers, 2 B tiers, an unsanctioned doubles tournament, and then the very first women's only A tier. And they're seeing over 100 women per tournament show up so far.
I saw that, and
And
I think she was on a podcast. I think it's the Wildflower Tour or something like that.
yeah, she
I
was
think it's called.
on Smashbox, I think, with
Right,
Terry.
right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so definitely population has a lot to do with it.
Oh, totally.
Like we could start a tour in BC, but I gotta like how you guys have your little tour up and down from
Hmm.
that would be so cool if there's a women's tour in there, but the
For
population
sure.
is not there to support it.
Well, and that's kind of what my next question was going to be is this area here where like we have Invermere's 3,000 4,000 people, and
Yep.
Cranbrook's a little bit bigger, and they're starting to gain that ladies league. Like Chrissy's running a ladies league
Yep.
with the other girls that are there, and the nice thing down there is that a lot of those ladies are trying to step up and start, they're running doubles and they're running all this other stuff, which is awesome to see.
It's amazing.
But on the tournament scene, you're still seeing, 1, 2 FPOs if we're lucky. I think this tournament coming up this weekend, we have 4 signed up, which is nice. And Christy's not one of them. So
I know, poor girl.
yeah, it's too bad. But I mean, it's nice to see four people signed up. I'm very, very excited about that. And so my next question was going to be is, you do see women signing up in FA1, FA2, FA3. Where do you think ladies should start playing, and when do you think they should start moving up? Is it just purely based on availability? Like, I know back in the day, it was kind of like, there's only 3 women playing, so they may as well play FPO together kind of thing.
That's exactly how I became a pro.
Yeah.
There was 3 women playing. I played in the BC Open. I came in 3rd, so freaking excited, accepted the cash. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even think my rating's 800 right now. But I think that's another whole conversation, ratings. I think women, and I'll go back to the old adage of like, if you're playing FA3 and you're winning and you've won all season or you've podiumed all season, it's time to go to FA2.
Mhm.
And if you're looking at your scores and where you podiumed, you would have hit 3rd in FA2 or 4th. Go to
Mhm.
FA1 and really challenge yourself.
Totally.
I don't like the word sandbagger. I've hated it all my life. I
Mhm.
think it's an insult. I think it's scared a lot of people away from the sport. I know it's trash talk that comes from that cultural thing. And men are really good at it. And I can remember a time when people, MA1 would get their first place trophy and be like, congratulations, welcome to MPO. And it was like, but I don't want to play MPO. I want to go to
Yeah.
Am Worlds. Like, I won 1 event this year. I'm going to MPO. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's okay. I think that people need to find their pace. And when they're not at the bottom, or if they have a fluke win, or all the good players don't show up this tournament, so I happen to podium, that's not what
Mhm.
determines whether you move or not. I think, judge where you are. If you're in the top 3rd, if you're in the top 10 all the time, and you got on the podium a couple times, maybe do 1 more season and see what happens, or challenge yourself and hit the next division. And that's for men and women. I honestly, I have no problems watching players develop their game and get really good. And that's part of being competitive.
Yeah.
Like, I know I was at Cobra Chicken. I just won that. And I played with 2 women that crush. I'm old enough to be their mom. They're amazing. I had just got, like, I was at the 2-week tail end of COVID. I was still feeling like crap. And we got out in the course and I said, okay, my goal here is to keep up. Like, I haven't been playing. I feel like crap.
Mhm.
And then I was tied for first going into the second round. And I was like, all right, I might as well just be here to win now. Like, that was kind of my smack talk. But
Yeah.
I think it was Paul Ulibarri that said it. We don't sign up for tournaments to lose. Why would we
Yeah.
sign up? Right?
Yeah.
So you're going to
Exactly.
sign up where you feel comfortable and you have an opportunity to get those strokes and make your way up the leaderboard. And I think that's a personal journey for everybody.
Mhm.
And I would never, unless you're like, and now the PDGA makes it so you can't sandbag, as I put it in air quotes. Based on your rating, you have to move divisions, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's kind of what I was going to bring up is like there's definitely a stigma around that, and in my mind, if your rating allows you to play in that division and you feel comfortable in that division, then play in that division. If
Yeah.
you're I think in Canada specifically, we have an issue with it because it's like there's not as many people to sort of feed the top. So it's just kind of like
There
people
isn't.
are always going to start filtering. Sorry, my hands are off screen. filtering to the top.
Yep.
And that like people, like it means the talent is kind of, the talent doesn't match the level of division as much. I find, I know I was looking at signing up for a tournament when I was in Arizona last year, and I was looking at the rec division. I was like, these people are like way higher rated than the rec division in Canada. Like, it's just nuts.
And it comes back to population. Like I said on our podcast a couple of times, like we have 1,000 rated players here in Kamloops, right? They play league, they play all our local C tiers, our A tiers, our B tiers. It's humbling for them to go to the US and play a couple of tours. Casey Hannemeyer is one of our top rated players in Canada, and he went on the tour last year. And I haven't yet had an opportunity to ask him about it, but you just have to look at the scores and where he placed. Right? Like there's something to be said about not having that population up here to challenge our players.
Totally.
They need to, like, I think of Noah Higgins. He needs to start going to the States and start playing and start feeling that pressure from those players, because the 900 rated players that have a 900 a rating, and I put rating in air quotes because unless you play enough tournaments, your rating doesn't depict how you actually play. But 900 rated players in MA1 would slay some of our MPOs up here. Like, it's crazy, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I think
don't tell them that. Don't tell them that.
But,
I'm a professional, Carrie. Don't disabuse me of this notion.
I am too. Come on. But I think, and the perfect example was Masters Cup on the weekend. Like that new guard coming in, and like where was Paul? I love the guy. Yeah. He's great, but we're entering a new era of disc golf. And the kids, like back to Innova Championship, Blue Ridge Mountains, or whatever it was. There was a kid on the lead card. Thompson, I think was his last name. I hadn't seen him, didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
He was slaying the course. He's an engineering student. Like, how many more of those are out there that when they graduate, they're going to go on the tour for a year? Like, it's insane. And I did say in our crush, video, there was a silver lining for COVID. Like, out of everything awful comes something good. I believe that in life. I have to get by. And the good was that our sport finally got the recognition it needed, but it freaking exploded, and we can't quite keep up.
No. That's actually a good plug. That was a little teaser for you. If you haven't watched that video, head over to our YouTube channel and watch that video on it was the Kootenay Women's Crush last year, and it's the Crush this year. Go check that out and sign up, obviously. So, and we'll get into the Crush in a little bit. So,
yeah, the video's on the Disc Golf Scene registration page for Crush.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Nice. Speaking of which, the sport is growing, and there's an opportunity to have more and more tournaments all over the place right now. And I feel like we've sort of lagged a little bit behind in terms of getting people into tournament directing roles. Now, you're somebody that has a lot of experience with that. I guess the first question would be if you have any inclination that you might want to give back to the sport in a way, like, volunteering to help run a tournament, how would you recommend getting into that? Let's say you don't personally know any of the local people that, the 3 or 4 people that TD all the events. How would you go about getting into that kind of role?
First thing I would suggest is becoming an official with the PDGA. Take the test, know the rules. Do not become a TD if you don't know the rules. The second thing to do is surround yourself with some really good people. So find some friends who also want a TD. You'll hear me say it often, and Andre was privy to it my Sunday night last year. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And my name might be attached to this tournament or the tournaments I run, but there's credit given to tons of people, like 5 or 6 key people in behind, but they really make me look good. And never go it alone. Never be afraid to ask for help. So become an official, know the rules. Suss out your audience. Like, are you part of a local club? Do you know people? There is a culture in disc golf locally where if people don't quite know who you are, you haven't really been around very long, or they're like, oh, can they run a tournament? Do they even know what they're doing? I never see them out at league. They don't come to doubles. So make a presence before you decide to run a tournament. Get to know your crowd, get to know the locals. It's not something you want to jump into lightly, even as a C tier. Um, I'm a firm believer that you don't play the events you run. The PDGA, you have to sign off. The tournament director's name, not the co-TD, not the co-TD. The tournament director's name goes to the PDGA. And I myself have never put my signature on something I'm not proud to turn in, whether it was school or work reviews or reports. So for me, I like to be very present when I'm a tournament director. And I know there's a big argument out there. You can go to Reddit, you can go to the Facebook tournament director page, and all these people think they should be able to play their C tiers. That's not success. Like, you want to be successful. You want people to come back. So yeah, I think there's some learning to do and some feelers to put out there before you become a TD, and definitely get involved in your local community first.
That's fantastic advice. Holy moly, that was a whole plate of great advice. And then on the plus side, for maybe somebody that hasn't been considering helping run a tournament or eventually running a tournament, what are some surprise things that you learned about, I mean, obviously it has to be rewarding to you in some way. What was something that surprised you after you started being involved in tournament directing that you maybe didn't expect in terms of, what makes it worth doing year in and year out?
Feedback. I really love people's feedback. I'm not a curmudgeon. I'm not stuck in my ways. I'm willing to pivot. I'm willing to change. And I always ask. I have thick skin. Tell me what you don't like. Like, I'm okay with it. I'm not perfect, right? Like, and I sent out a survey last year after TCO to every player. I created a survey in Google Docs and asked the hard questions and willing to take the answers, and sent it out, and I got 135 or 133 replies, which was pretty good. Almost like a third of the field replied. One person said they wouldn't come back, and that was because it wasn't feasible to travel from Ontario. One person was completely unhappy with the players pack. And other than that, everyone else said they would come back. There was like, oh, I like getting discs in my players pack, so I'd rather have less of a player pack and be paid out, or, my trophy doesn't have to be as fancy if it means we can get paid out. So, I got some very valuable feedback from amateurs about trophy only events. But yeah, it was, on the whole, some of the things I was reading were pretty cool. So if you don't know this, when you run an event, on the PDGA page in the upper right-hand corner, it says feedback, and you can press that button and you can send the PDGA your thoughts on that tournament. The tournament director gets those thoughts, but your name is attached to those thoughts. So the tournament director knows exactly who's saying it. So I was able, I got some of those last year, and it was okay. But when the survey went out, it was anonymous when they came back. So just so anyone out there that wants to become a keyboard warrior and be all angry at your TD through the PDGA, they're going to get your name. But that for me, I think it's important. That's the other thing. If you don't have thick skin, if your heart hurts easily, if you wear your heart on your sleeve and all you want to do is please people and make everybody happy, I learned really fast when I ran the first Canadians that you will never make anyone happy, or everyone, not anyone, everyone. Mm-hmm. And you need to have really thick skin. Because I had my very first moment of like, oh, maybe I shouldn't run an event. I had a guy come up and be like, I need to talk to the TD. I got a question. And I was like, I'm here. What can I help you with? And he looked past me. He's like, there's got to be a dude around here I can talk to. Mm-hmm. And I said, nope, I'm it. He's like, never mind. I'll find someone else to ask. And he walked away. And I remember looking around at the few people that were standing there, and they were all kind of like mouth hanging open. And I didn't, like, when you have such a big crowd and you don't know everybody, I didn't know who he was. And I was like, they're like, Carrie, don't worry. Don't worry. That's just who he is. Don't worry. And I was like, okay. But then I was like, but what if someone tells him the wrong thing? And what if, and they're like, that's not your problem. You offered as a TD to help him, and he walked away. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So yeah, you'll never make everybody happy, and have thick skin. It's important.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just kind of going back on your not playing in the TDs or in the tournaments you run, I kind of set a limit for myself, and it was like, okay, last year I had, this Rusty rating series. We only had, 30 to 40 people play. Mm-hmm. And it was okay. It was still very stressful, even though that wasn't that many people.
Yeah.
This year, it was up. Numbers are crawling into the 60s and into the 70s, and it makes such a difference when you don't have to like worry. I hate to say it, when you don't have to worry about playing, you can TD better. And when you're playing like and you're TDing, it's just like you're
Yeah.
constantly thinking about whether stuff's going right, and like if someone has an issue, what do? You just like tell
Yep.
them to wait till after the round. So
And if you're on a shotgun start, you got people coming in that are done, and
yeah,
you're looking over at Tournament Central, and you're like, "Oh crap! Oh, I got 5 more holes," and you
yeah,
never play well, like, except for Christy at Crush. I've never seen a TD play
yeah,
well at all. Christy's
that
like
was
the
incredible.
anomaly. I told her that too. I'm like, play, because hell, you're good at it when you do it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's for me. Um, I want to be there. I like
Mm,
if media shows up or someone has a question or spectators are there and you can talk to them, and it's I feel like that's my job.
yep,
I signed up to run this. I didn't sign up to play it. And if you
totally.
I heard Doug Bjerkis say this, and we actually just did an interview with Jackie Morris from
Right.
um, Emporia, and she's so humble and so sweet. And the event, like when I grow up, I want to be just like Jackie. Like seriously, like the
Yeah,
woman runs the world. GBO that's happening this coming weekend, like that's her baby, right? The
totally.
DDO, that's her baby. But I remember listening to her and Doug Bjerkis speak, and Doug said, "If you're tournament directing for glory and pats on the back, you're doing it for the wrong reasons."
Hmm.
And I truly believe that. I do it to grow the sport, to give the players an experience, to make them want to be competitive, and you know, go home and tell 3 friends and bring more people next year. Like, and I stress out about the small things a lot,
Yeah,
because to me it's more than disc golf and competition. It's an experience.
totally. And I will say that what the amount of attention that you put into your tournaments, it sets a really high standard for other tournaments, right? Like
Thank you.
last year is kind of funny because TCO was the first tournament of the year in Canada, first A tier, sorry, and it was the biggest at the time, and then it was just kind of
Yeah.
like progressively the tournaments just kind of kept up in their
Hmm.
game, and the numbers of players went up, and I think it's setting a good example for other tournaments as well, especially at that higher level of A tiers as well. And
Absolutely.
then yeah. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, no, let's get into TCO because I want to get
Okay.
into TCO. It's only a couple weeks away, so can you let our listeners know what
7 days away.
it's crazy,
7 days to check
crazy.
in.
7 days to check
9
in.
days to tee off.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Woo!
Exciting, but nuts. Very excited about it. We're going to be there doing the filming. Our listeners probably know
You
that, but if
are.
this is the first episode that you're listening to, Park Pro will be filming the TCO as part of
Yay!
the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. It's the first
Yes.
event of the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. So, what can our listeners look forward to for the tournament? What can they expect?
Well, if you're a player, your player's pack is in the house.
All
Yay!
right. Yeah. Can we
If
see
no
it
one
back
knows what
there?
I'm talking about, find someone who played last year.
I
That
see
was
some
very
wardens, maybe
successful.
some verdicts back there. It's hard to tell with the camera angle.
Me? Nothing. There's nothing. You're in my
Ah,
bedroom.
Ah.
There's no
that's not
discs. I'll break everyone's heart. There's no
that's not where
discs
you
in your
keep the
player's pack.
players packs?
What's that?
That's not where you keep the players packs?
No. No. But they're here, and that was such a huge stress last year. So check-in is actually set up and ready to go, and we'll be
Awesome.
starting it for the locals and early arrivals on Tuesday, next Tuesday. Wednesday we'll open it up for people who are in town. Then Thursday all day is check-in. Um, yeah, we've got we're in the same space we were in on Mac Island for our Tournament Central. It's a really cool space. The Kamloops Sports Council, which is a nonprofit, offers that space to us at a really good price. They renovated. There's a bar, so there be selling pints and ciders and coolers and non-alcoholic choices as well. It is family friendly. So this last year we had brew loops on site, but the kids couldn't go. This year the children are welcome. We'll have a table with a bunch of games. We have an ace run competition going on Friday night. Saturday night, we have karaoke at that spot.
Cool. That's awesome.
So yeah, it's just a place for people to come and hang out and have a drink or not, and just get like visit with your people from Ontario, from Quebec. We got people coming from Washington State. It's pretty cool. So make some friends, hook up with some old friends, have a bevy, talk about your round, cry in your beer, whatever you need to do. Yeah, and the trophies are pretty sweet this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, can you tease them?
If I had one here, I would just show it because you
No,
told me
no
not many people
spoilers. No
watch it.
spoilers.
All
We're,
right.
I don't
we're
have
going
one
for
with
the
me.
cinematic
But,
reveal at the end.
they're very different. We had a female disc golfer make them.
Cool.
I can't tell you where she's from, or else I'll know who it is. Yeah, they're very cool. I think people are gonna love them.
Awesome.
Yeah, very different than last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the spectator experience like? And I only ask this because my sister-in-law, hopefully her kids don't listen to the podcast, because this is supposed to be a surprise, but my sister-in-law is going to surprise her kids and my brother with a little visit on Sunday to watch the final round. So
Sweet.
yeah.
So the final round, the MPOs are playing at Mac Island. That card. So MPO, FPO, the MA50s, MA40s. Honestly, Chad Smoliak is the brain behind disc golf scene, the tour manager for the PDGA. He does the pools, the tee time. He's that guy, and I'm just so grateful to have him as part of our team because, it's my favorite saying. My brain would melt out my ears if I had to take care of that stuff. But yeah, they're at Mac, and I think we're gonna try to push the AMS tee times early Sunday, or all the other two pools, and then push this pool off late. So by the time the lead card tees off on Mac, everybody else should be done at Rose and Logan Lake and able to come down, and might miss a few holes depending on your tee time, but we should have a pretty packed house for the final card.
Very cool.
And we'll have some crowd control. We'll have our spotters out there. I think it'll be more of a find a spot on the course and watch, or herd behind and watch that way. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but Mac was just easier for parking. For I think it looks nicer on camera. Green grass. Who doesn't want to see green grass and the pros going for it, right? And we've got some cool changes coming to Mac for OB and Mandos to kind of keep them thinking.
Yeah, and don't worry, Matt and I are both fans of Mac. It's Jesse Jesse's the one that wasn't the biggest fan.
Play it.
Yeah, and I will say that it was definitely easier to film Mac. So
yes,
yeah.
So I know it's not really much point selling a tournament to people that the registration is closed for, but I do want to mention and get your thoughts on now knowing that you grew up there, the Logan Lake course, which is one of my favorite courses in Western Canada, period. Maybe let people know like sort of the history of the Logan Lake course and how excited are you at having some attention paid to it and getting it tournament ready again?
My cup is overflowing for sure. So growing up there, where the disc golf course is located is where literally we used to party and bush parties. And yeah. So when my husband and I got married and we moved back from Alberta, we moved to Logan Lake, and we were avid mountain bikers. And we went in, and a lot of the trails, like the joining trails, between tee pads and some of the fairways, we built as mountain bike trails up there. And then we had our daughter, and we moved to Kamloops. And Clint Anderson, I mentioned his name earlier on. He was one of the people that got us into disc golf. Him and I saw a need for disc golf up there, and we pitched it to the district of Logan Lake. We went and took PDGA videos, and we edited, and we made this like cool VHS video. We plugged it in, and we sold them on all the stats and all the demographics. And we worked with the YMYWCA at that time, and the Mine, Highland Valley Copper, and the Seniors Club and the ATV Club. So literally we had gentlemen between the ages of like 60 and 75, 80 years old, hauling tee pads, pouring cement for baskets. And so that course went in, and in 2007, we hosted the provincial championships there. And on and off, we used it. The tee pads weren't that great. They're old conveyor belt from the mine, so they're slippery when they get wet. And then Rose Hill and Mac Island happened, and COVID happened, and we did include it in 2017 in the provincials. We were up there, but what happened this year was we're like, oh, if we get 400 or 500 people, we need a third course. So we looked at Logan Lake, and Brett Hanna, who's a very active member of the Kamloops Disc Golf Club, moved to Logan Lake in October and loved that he had disc golf 2 minutes from his doorstep, and became very active in the community, and has got the disc golf course slated for the new budget coming. So there'll be upgrades done to Copper Ridge, and there's another 18-hole disc golf course going into Logan Lake because of Brett.
Wow, very cool.
Which is incredible. And Brett is the TD for a C tier, August 21st or 22nd. Registration opens in 10 minutes, and I'm probably not going to get in.
We can talk amongst ourselves for a few minutes casually.
Yeah. And you can camp. Like, the beauty part about this place is you get to camp, and it's awesome. And to have Brett there to breathe life into it. This used to be the course before Raptors Knoll was in, that the guys would day trip from Vancouver to play and go home. They wouldn't come to Kamloops. They would go to Logan Lake. Totally. So it is an amazing course. The elevation, the scenery, the views over the lake, it's very cool. And yeah, I can't say enough. Brett's done such an amazing job.
Yeah. Brett, you better have got Carrie a spot in your tournament. All right. That's all I'm saying. We bet when this comes out, we better see Carrie's name on there regardless of.
And we know Brett's a listener, so he'll definitely hear this.
Don't make room for me. I hope.
Yes. And then we are Brett Hanna fans. So
yes, if you're not a Brett Hanna fan, get on his Instagram, Shoo Slinger. Check that guy out. He's fundraiser extraordinaire. He also single-handedly fundraised for our club to have the Dick Hart Park put in, which hopefully I can let people know on Monday we should have all our paperwork signed, sealed, and delivered, and we can start breaking ground at Dick Hart. So the plan is in October to have a C tier up there as well. So
cool.
Yeah, that's another awesome. Huge championship level course in the Kamloops area.
Yeah. And speaking of championship level, Rose Hill has a venerable history in the area and has also gone through some ecologically tough times. Yes. Can maybe just let people know about, if they haven't seen it on coverage or if they haven't been there in person, tell us about the magic of Rose Hill and some of the trials and tribulations it's gone through.
There isn't a tree left standing, I don't think. Actually, that's a lie. When you're on tee pad 2, there's a tree adjacent to the tee pad on the right-hand side. That's an original tree. And most of the trees were that size on Rose Hill before the pine beetle came through. Like, when I watched W.R. Jackson and they're carving lines through towering pine trees, it's very reminiscent of 2000s, 1999 at Rose Hill. Very reminiscent. Where you stand at the little covered gazebo with the picnic table, that used to be a ball diamond. And just where the fence is, where you go out to hole 9's basket, that was hole 7's basket. And you couldn't see the basket for like the cluster of towering pine trees around it. It was just crazy. It was gorgeous. Like, it's like the college and in Cranbrook and Wycliffe had a baby.
Very cool.
Very cool. Like, when I go to college into Wycliffe, like, Wycliffe's probably one of my most favorite courses ever. And it's probably because it's so reminiscent of being at Rose Hill. Yeah. And pine beetle came through. It was very heartbreaking. There was probably a 3 or 4 year decline in disc golf in Kamloops. The club just kind of went stagnant. Hearts were broken. And then we got the east side. No, we didn't. Yes, we did. We had the east side back then. Mm-hmm. And we revamped it for the 2017 provincials. And then the government didn't re-sign our lease. So we used to have side-by-side. John Houck designed Rose Hill East. Side-by-side championship courses that carved through pines and elevation, and hosted the Canadians there in 2004, 2011, and 2013. had some of the very best disc golfers in the world there. We've had Avery Jenkins, Nate Sexton, David Feldberg. Like I named all the women earlier. Christian Dietrich out of Montana. He's been up. Like it just Eric McCabe, Paige Pierce. It's crazy the people that have come to Kamloops for golf. And so we've redesigned again and again and again, and it's probably on its third or fourth iteration now. And for TCO, we just added some more cool stuff. We tweaked some tee pads. We were supposed to get concrete tee pads before the tournament, but the weather just didn't allow for it. It wasn't cooperating. We had a late spring. So we've moved some tee pads. We've triple mandoed a couple holes to take away the up and over hyzer or the thumber route. It's kind of fun. We've changed up the fairway on one. It's just not a straight down the gully shot down the tunnel. You got to carve it out and come around to the basket. And so, it's going to be good. Rose Hill, we gave it some extra love. And and we're excited to have Logan Lake. We're going to be there on Saturday doing the last push of maintenance and putting in the Circle 1 ground whiskers and trimming trees and setting tee pads. And we're upgrading the tee pads temporarily for the tournament, but Logan Lake tee pads are getting a full replacement. So thank you, Brett, again.
Yeah.
So we're slowly coming back to what we were a decade ago here in Kamloops for disc golf, and it's pretty fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to get into an ad read real quick here, and then we'll get on with we'll move on from the interview portion of the podcast. But is there anything that you wanted to touch on before we move over to that?
I just want to say thanks to you guys, to Parked Pro, for your professionalism and the quality of the work you guys are doing and to promote Canadian disc golf. Get out there, people. Check them out. Parked Pro on Instagram. They're on Facebook and they're on YouTube. Support them, like them, thumbs up. I think you guys might even have a Patreon, don't you?
We do.
There you go. You guys, these guys make it happen. This is why we get to see Ontario and Vancouver and all those other places on YouTube, because these guys are making it happen. Yeah,
for sure. Thank you for that.
Of course, you guys are amazing.
And obviously, this podcast is a big thing that we do here at Park Pro, and it couldn't be made possible without our patrons, obviously. So if you want to be a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/parkpro for as little as $1.50 a month. That's how much it costs to support us. And, I know it sounds like it might not go that far, that might not go a long ways, but, just knowing that we have the support of our listeners, and that does a lot for our morale, and it does a lot, to be able to pay for these mics and stuff for the podcast. And, we have lots of camera equipment that we have to pay for as well. So we appreciate all the support we can get. And then also our sponsor of the podcast, DiscGolfPark. DiscGolfPark is a unique disc golf course concept developed in Finland in 2005. It is based on the idea of building sports facilities in an environmentally friendly way. Disc Golf Park provides great experiences for players of all skill levels, from beginners to professionals. Our main ideology is to introduce disc golf to new audiences. There are several options to suit any kind of course, and all official disc golf parks include professional and safe course design, Disc Golf Park Pro targets, tee pads and tee signs, and an info board to welcome players to your course. The Disc Golf Park World concept consists of multiple courses designed for different types of players. Multi-golf is a new and fun activity for the whole family. In multi-golf, 3 forms of golf are played: foot golf, disc golf, and park-style pinch and putt. School Disc Golf Park offers students a new and exciting form of exercise for physical education classes. A course suitable for schools can be designed even in a small area, for instance, a schoolyard. Furthermore, the costs of school disc golf park are lower than those of regular disc golf parks. We also offer private and group lessons or clinics. For more information, check out the website at discgolfpark.com and request a quote today. On Disc Golf Park, I'm very excited about this coming weekend. We're talked a little bit about the rescue ratings and this course coming up in Parsons. It's a brand new Disc Golf Park course designed by none other than Matt Reardon, who is obviously our biggest supporter of the podcast and what we do over here at Park Pro. And so really looking forward to experiencing that course. If you haven't been there, it's an amazing very challenging course. If you ever played, Raven's Nest gets tossed out there a lot because that's kind of our local course here. Recently, designed in the last few years by Jesse Tumulty, our co-host, and
Former co-host. I think we're gonna. I think we need to get Carrie in here full time. Clive can run a podcast on his own. Carrie, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
sweet. Jesse's awesome.
Yeah, Jesse's
okay,
awesome.
We'll take him back. I guess
We do love Jesse. But it gets a lot of attention because it has all that elevation change, and it's funny because this up the creek course that we're playing, it's uphill. It's uphill and then it's downhill. So it can be a bit of a challenge. And there's a lot of like ravine shots where you have to throw it. If you don't throw it 150 feet over this ravine, like it's going, your disc is down at the bottom of this ravine. So it's definitely a challenging course. The best part is that, this guy put so much work into it. Like 2 weeks ago, he was talking about putting tee pads and building decks and putting rubber mounts down. And I went there last week, and I don't know if all of them are done, but definitely a lot of them are done already. Like he's put so much work, and he's super committed to it, and he's very passionate about it. So looking forward to that. But that's this coming weekend. Let's talk about Golden. In the winner, Casey Hannemeyer. Casey Hannemeyer took down it, but it wasn't how you expected. Ryan Watson from Kamloops, or Vernon. I'm not actually sure where he's from, the Okanagan. He was taking a lead into hole 18, and he kind of ended up a little bit off the fairway, and Casey had probably about a 45-foot putt. And so obviously Ryan was up first, and he put it to within like 15 feet. And everyone that was watching was like, well, Casey's got to run this if he wants to like force the playoff. So he runs it, misses it. And I look away because I'm like, oh, Ryan's got this. And then all of a sudden I look back and Ryan's putting from this side of the basket. And I'm like, no, Ryan. So I feel really bad for Ryan. He took it to a playoff. He's been playing some really great disc golf lately. You feel for that whole 18 jitters, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was super exciting.
If you're not nervous, you're not playing right. You gotta have some nerves. And I feel for Ryan. I've been within one stroke, and those jitters, and people watching. Someone was telling me that there had to be like maybe 60 or 70 people watching.
Yes.
So yeah.
Because everyone was finished their round, and they were the last or the second last card to come in. And then the playoff was on hole 1, and they both put it to within, I think they were both within circle 1, but Ryan was up first and just missed his putt and went long, and then canned his comeback putt, and then Casey just had to finish it off with a 28 footer, I'll say. So super exciting.
Nice. Good to see a battle.
We also had a playoff in we didn't have an FPO division, but we did have a playoff in FA1 as well, and I think that went 2 or 3 holes. So nice. That was very exciting, and that was Jessica O'Connor who took that one over Sherry. So nice to see this tight disc golf played. Golden's one of those courses that anyone can win. So that's why I kind of like having it as.
For people that haven't played Golden, you got to have a touch shot. You got to have. Yeah. It's like watching Masters Cup. You got to have, or the Champions Cup, those turnovers and those annies and the sidearm. You got to have it. Control.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to have a huge arm. So, and that's what makes it, within reach for everyone. So.
And you did it the right time of year, because I played going back from Crush last year, and I had this hoodie on, and I felt like I was on South Park. Like this much of me was showing for the mosquitoes. It was awful.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
Alive.
It's the best time of year to play disc golf in Golden, because Golden is built in a swamp. It's built in the wetlands. So yeah,
it sure is.
Yeah. And that's this is the finale for the Rusty Ratings. There are obviously spots still available in the Rusty Paddle this coming weekend. So if you sign up, that'd be awesome. There's a few people that are staying over the night. There's camping. There's, you can book that through the Columbia Wetlands Outpost website. It's going to be a blast. And we're going to have a little wrap up party with, field games. He's got this big green field down this hill. And so we're going to have some CTPs and putting games and stuff too. So and then obviously like a fire and whatnot. So yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm really excited, and the weather looks like it's going to be super nice. It's supposed
Really
to get up
nice
to
this
like,
weekend.
yeah,
Good
it's supposed to
weekend
get
for
up to like
shenanigans.
25. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Bring it to Kamloops with you, okay?
I'll try. I'll do my best.
Okay. And keep
Yeah.
the wind. We don't want wind.
No, we definitely do not want wind. And then just as far as with the Park Pro, we are still working on Rusty Bear coverage. Or we call it the Rusty Bear. It's the Rocket Bear. We are still working on that, and we'll release that as soon as we can. We are hoping to have it out before TCO, but we'll see what happens. We tried a few different things on the techie side, and let's just say some of them didn't really work out the way we wanted to. So. But that's the reason why we did this, because you try these things that you're going to try to expedite your camera work, and it's nice to have that, find out it didn't work on on the Rocket Bear as opposed to finding out it didn't work on TCO. So yeah, so we're looking forward to that. And then the Canadian Disc Golf Tour, we will announce one sec, I got a drum roll coming here.
All right, I'm ready.
The 9th stop, the final stop on the Canadian Disc Golf Tour is Flickline Ironleaf in Nova Scotia. And yes, we did jump a couple in the middle there. That's because we have some special stuff that's coming out for the announcements for those two tournaments. So, that will be the conclusion of the tournament, and we still have 2 tournaments that we still have to announce, which we will likely announce in the next week or so.
And that's the wrap-up event for the Flickline Tour out east. It's the big maritime tour, and that is the final event for their tour. So it's a big deal out there, and it's a good way to finish the season. And we get to go all the way out to the East Coast to wrap up the summer, which is, can't complain.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we start at TCO and we end all the way out on the other side of the country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very excited. Can't get enough of this Canadian disc. I'm so pumped. It's going to be a blast all summer. It's going to be a very busy summer, but it's going to be it's
going to be good.
Blast.
And I'm excited for you guys for sure.
Yeah. All right, and then we had a big disc golf tournament happen this past week. I know we're an hour and something into our podcast here, and we're only just getting to this now. We had the first major of the year in the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and it was pretty eventful. And my power just did a little flicker, but it was pretty eventful. It was Isaac Robinson taking it out in the MPO, and Eagle McMahon finishing second. Then Nicholas Antila tied for second. So it's nice to see him come over and do well. And then possibly the biggest surprise, and this is a guy that, I didn't get to watch any of it, but I was watching UDisc Live. Silas Schultz.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of a coming out party for him. So what do you guys think about that?
I don't think he's ever been in the top 10 of a Pro Tour or a silver ever. So that's pretty cool. No, he played so well. Yeah, I watched all the live. I watched everything.
Oh, yeah? Good.
And I watched post-production too. I'm that person.
Nice. Good.
It was watching disc golf on TV, on DGN or on YouTube. It always looks way easier than it is, but I think that course was really the epitome of that, because some of those fairways were so ludicrously tight, throwing like full power shots, and the lead cards would just carve those tiny fairways up. And that was, like you mentioned, Isaac Robinson and the newer generation of kids coming up, but it's like nobody told Isaac Robinson that you're not supposed to be able to hit an 8-foot gap over and over and over and over again with a full power shot, right?
And I think too, it's I kind of had mixed feelings about this course, because I have a really salty take about Worlds.
Let's hear it. We got a room for all the salt in the world here.
And I appreciated this tournament more than I appreciate the Worlds. And it's because this tournament's played on the same course every year, vying for the same title. It's only been a major for 2 years now, but there's always been an event at WR Jackson, and they always are vying for a title there. And I listened to Brody Smith. I listened to Debate Night. I think it was Debate Night, or maybe it was with Uli Tour Life. I can't remember. And he was saying, like, is 40 down even a disc golf score? Like, people weren't thinking you'd need 10 down to win. And, I'm looking at that course and I was like, you're hitting the lines. Are you having luck? Or have you just come out and know what disc to hit with what speed at what angle? And he was saying things like, it was good to see that, like, Chris Clemens and Matty O up in there, like those, but it's a course where I think he said two or three holes he thought were forehand courses or forehand holes, and then a couple turnover, and then the rest is just hyzer up and down, hyzer up and down, hyzer up and down. And he said the course would have been way more interesting if they would have had some hazard or OB that actually mattered to the player. And he said, take hole 1, for instance, the whole left side, people would throw their throw out, hit the hyzer line, and then they might like leak onto the left, but then they can still scramble really easy for their par. What if that whole side was hazard? So while you're in there scrambling, you're taking a stroke. So now you're really going to think off the tee. Are you going to throw a full power hyzer up and carve the line? Or are you actually going to think off the tee box? He said, because really these holes, you go through, you practice them, and you're not thinking. You're just throwing a hyzer down, up and down, up and down. Even the girls, it was all hyzer shots, up high, fade down, up high, fade down. So I think they're going to outgrow WR Jackson with this new era of disc golfers if they don't make some changes. I have to agree with Brody. I love the course, but 40 down, like, that's just insane.
Now, it was 34 down.
No, he won with 40 down.
Yeah, he was. 40
no,
down.
sorry. I'm looking at I was about to lead into this.
It was 34 down going into the final round.
And in round 3, he was 34 down going into the final round, and he was 7 strokes above the next best player. So it was, neg 40, and it's funny because I think in my grip 6, I think I put like neg 42 as like the total between FPO and MPO. So
I said 40 because I looked did I say 40? I said 50 because last year was a 32 down and the page went with a 9 down over 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, that's like 30. Okay, 40 combined is going to win. Yeah. Right? It's insane.
Yeah, totally. I agree. They are likely going to have to change something. I do. Yeah. It's tough. I think this is going to kind of become maybe not the norm, but like, you're going to start seeing these scores get better and better. Like you touched on it earlier, the amount of talent that's coming, that's crazy. in parity in these divisions. It's crazy. And I think you're going to start seeing that a lot more. And I also just want to touch on Isaac Robbins because I was a big fan of him coming out of last year. He's one of those guys that, you talked about like coming out of not high school, but like college. I think he just finished college and this is his first year touring as a pro. And, I don't know if he's played as well as people expected him throughout the beginning, but to see him get his major, it kind of proves that all the dedication that he's put into it. So,
well, he almost had the Champions Cup last year, right? Ricky took that. And he did win a pro tour last year.
I think it was Idlewild,
which
is not an easy course to win on.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where it's like, and that was while he was in school. So, it's nice to
like
see
look
him.
at AB, Anthony Barella. This is his first full year. He's still doing 1 class a semester online, but give the kid the chance to focus on disc golf, and he's killing it.
He's crushing it.
I know.
Love to see it. All right, we can move over to our FPO division. This is a real surprise at the top here. Kristen Tatar takes it down.
We had to have a conversation before the tournament and our predictions about who was going to come in second.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there was going to be zero debate as to who was going to be winning this tournament on FPO.
Really?
Yeah. We all, I think so. Yeah.
Paige is injured. We knew that
Paige
going
is injured.
in.
If Colin could control herself, she would have done way better. She's got to get some experience under her, but Holland is easily could have vied for that spot.
Totally.
Katrina, I don't
I
know what's
think they all.
happening.
I,
This
I
should have
think
been her course.
yeah, and I think that they all would compete, but I feel like just the storyline of last year, and I just feel like it was, that kind of lights a bit more of a fire under Kristen's. She needed to win this one for last year. I think for her
Did you
mind,
read
or
her
I don't know.
post?
I did. It was awesome. It was funny because I
Oh, what
totally
happened
just
to my
proves
camera?
exactly what I said, but. We got a very blurry Carrie Neal.
I know. I leaned in, and all of a sudden, it's like I don't know what I've done.
Yeah, and and you're
Wait,
back.
yeah,
Ish?
okay.
Kind of.
No.
Okay.
That's all right.
That's
Anyways,
good. People don't need to look at this too long, anyways. That's okay. Yeah. No.
yeah.
I said I called. Clive and I do predictions, and I just couldn't see Kristen coming back. Like that year is going to be hard to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to Hannah Macbeth yesterday, and she brought up some really good points about how we made this whole tournament about Kristen, and we forget about we forget about second place, but we forget about another new era of disc golf coming, and it's these outside of Own. I'm sorry, I don't know what she eats for breakfast, but
My goodness.
she's right in the mix, right?
Totally.
We have other women to cheer for. If Kristen Tatar is going to be our go-to winner every time, we don't want to make the FPO boring to watch. I'm not watching, but Kristen's going to win anyways. Fart. Kristen's going to win anyways. So they tune out. And it's like, but no, get excited for the Cap merch and the Holland Hanley and these names. Like, it's unfortunate that
Ella Hansen.
Wanda Hano's not playing right now. But
Right.
There's so many Macy Valadias. Like, there's so many good players out there that you could get behind and cheer for. Don't tune out the FPO. And I hear people saying that. They're like, whatever, Kristen's going to win. And it's like, but she might not. Fingers crossed. I don't want to cheer against her. I don't want to hope she implodes. She's such a humble and beautiful human being. And she played that course so well. She backed off her power. She used her power when she had to. She used her mid-ranges when she knew she had to. Like, she played it well, and she played smart, and she played consistent. And that's good golf. And she deserved every minute of what she got. And It left the rest of the field freaking out. People were freaking out for second place. You could see it. Like, they came out on that fourth day, and it looked like everyone had a huge hangover. Like, no one had fire in their belly on the fourth day. Everyone was kind of like off the first tee. They were hitting trees right away. Like, it was almost like they had given up. And I think as fans, we have to keep cheering for those up and coming players because, I love that Kristen did so well, but we can't let her success overshadow what's happening in the FPO division.
Totally. And I mean, all you have to do is look back at the start of the season. Like, Kristen isn't invincible. She hasn't won every tournament this year.
Nope.
So, and it's been a lot of different winners. So you're seeing Ella Hansen on a lot of league cards. You're seeing Holland Hanley come up quite a bit. And it's just, I think it's really cool to see. But we're just we'll round out our top few here. Owen Scoggins does finish second. And then it was a three-way tie for third between Kat Merch, Katrina Allen, and Haley King. And then, the previously mentioned Holland Hanley finished sixth. And she unfortunately had a rough round that last round compared to everyone else. But nice to see Kat Merch come back with the -3 final round to tie for third. So that's really cool to see. That's one of those people that, I'm really excited to watch her progress through the FPO field. So.
And it's neat to see the age gap that's happening. Like, Kristen's 30, I believe.
Yeah.
Katrina's mid-30s. Owen's 42. But everybody else is under 23 years old.
Yeah.
23. I think Holland might be 26 or 27. I know Missy's 30. Paige is 30. Like, Paige hurt her shoulder, and she says because she was raking her yard. And then she came out throwing to her. It's like, when I wake up and Craig's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I woke up. Like, something hurts. It's like, it's happening to these old, and like, so Kristen's at that age, right? She's had the elbow surgery. You can tell at the beginning of the season, she was tentative with her arm. These young kids, it's like they see it. They see these injured players and they see their opportunity, and they're biting a bit too hard right now. Like the aggression and the hard throws, but it's coming. And eventually that new guard of FPOs is going to come in too. Like, I'm so excited for like the next 5 years of disc golf.
Yeah.
On both sides. So excited.
This is already the best year of FPO competition at the Pro Tour level. It's like in the last 2 years. Yeah. It's in the last 2 years, it feels like the number of like viable, legitimate winners on the FPO side is quadrupled. Like it was, we went for so long in the Page and Cat era, and then, you'd get somebody that would sort of pop up into third and challenge for second. But it was like, if Page and Cat were there, you could bet your money that they're going to be 1-2 in some order. And then all of a sudden, I would say, probably in the last 2 years, it's like any one of 8 to 10 people can win an FPO this year. And it's just like what we've all been waiting for. Like, we know that this division is capable of this, and finally finding those athletes that are able to, usually mostly from a financial perspective, dedicate their summers at least to going out and playing professionally. And it's been amazing for the fans. I think
it's so cool. And it's so cool to see so many of them get sponsored and get connected, get an RV, do Airbnbs, whatever it is, and get out on the road full time. Like 5 years ago, there's maybe 10 professional FPOs on the road, maybe full time. And now probably the top 20, 25 are full time on the road. Like Stacey Ronsley's another one. Like, watch for her. She's a great player. As soon as she can bring it together, it's going to be amazing. Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Totally. Stacey Ronsley was one of my picks for up and comers of the year. She rips. When she dials in that golf game, holy moly.
Yeah. She does, for sure. And she's so nice as a human being. Honest to God, she is. She's the sweetest.
I was going to say
kid. I'm 50 now. I can say kid. You guys are kids.
I messaged her on Instagram. I told her she's actually probably one of my favorite disc golf follows, just because she has a really good sense of humor and she's very humble and honest with her game. So definitely worth checking her out and seeing how she grows. On this note of, up and comers, first I'll say, is there anything else you guys wanted to touch on Champions Cup?
I agree that I really like the aspect of having another major on the same course every year. I think they're doing it the right way, trying to introduce a new major and having it at the same location every year. I don't mind that Worlds is in a different location, as long as they include some of the other countries in the world at some point. Because if it's just the US World Championships, I think then that's kind of stupid. But
have me back for my salty take, Matt, or we'll have a beer next week and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
We're chatting about doing an after hours podcast called Glow Round, so that maybe we can get into that sometime.
Let's do it. I will not wear this when we do it.
It'll not sponsored.
It'll be marked private, and we'll just send it out to all our friends.
Yeah, but it's
I still want friends when it's over. Okay. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's that's sort of what makes USDGC special, is like, there's nothing that spectacular about that course. Like, you've got a dangerous island on hole 17. But it's really just the familiarity that makes it special. It's like, I remember what happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago on these holes. And that's what they're starting to grow with the Champions Cup at WR Jackson, which is already a way better course than that university that they use for.
Okay. I'll drop it on you, but we won't talk about it. The Worlds is just another weekend. Have a good weekend. You're a world champ. Done.
No.
You don't play it on the same course every year. It's just, you just got to go have 4 or 5 good rounds, make the cut, and wow, you're a world champion. And it's the sport, the fans, and the culture that made it something special. It's not where it's hosted. It's not how you get in. It's not seriously. And I know it's an arsehole take, but like, I find the Champion Cup at the end of the year more exciting? All of these players playing these majors and playing Worlds and playing WR Jackson are playing for points, and they're playing for those points so they can get into the Champion Cup. Does that not seem ridiculous? They're playing this tour so they can make it in, and there's going to be no play downs this year. They're going FedEx style points, I guess. That's so freaking exciting. That makes you grind, you work hard, and when you earn that check at the end of that weekend, you've earned that check. You just didn't have a good weekend. That's my take. That's salty.
Yeah. No, it makes sense because, like, you know, you're the whole argument around that is that, sorry, devil's advocate.
Yeah, for sure.
The devil's advocate argument, and this isn't necessarily what I agree with, but you know, it's the prestige. You know, it draws the most people. It draws people from all over. It's the highest competition, and yeah, that makes sense. But you know, as the sport is growing, you're seeing all these people come to all of these tournaments. So like you said, it's, you know, it kind of in a way is just another weekend. I think what would make it interesting is if you upped it from even just like, you know, majors are four rounds, make it a 5, 6, 7, 8 round tournament. Make
like
it a
used to be in the old days.
Yeah, exactly.
Worlds used to be 1 year where 9 rounds you had to play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And then they would like add a final 9 at the end of it all. Just like wasn't enough.
And the thing is, so here it is. I went to Worlds in 2016 and I went to Worlds in 2014. I freaking got invited. Like, were they inviting me to donate to the payout? Because I have no business being at an FPO at the Worlds, none. But I went for the experience because I wanted to experience it. I wanted to experience the tournament, the weekend, the vibe. Emporia, Kansas is brilliant. If you've never been there, you've got to go. But what are you saying to those FPOs that have quit their jobs and they're traveling and they're busting their butts? We'll let anyone into your division at Worlds. So don't worry about it. Like, no, earn your way in, have a rating cutoff, have something. It's, you know, it's speed of play. It's like, there's all kinds of stuff you could get into, and on men and women's side, both. I'm not dogging women. Trust me. I'm going to go to Worlds next year in Emporia for MP50. I'm going for the experience. I'm going to maybe win a world title. Do I have any business being there? Hell no. But they're
hell
going to
yeah, you do.
So, you know what I mean? Like, especially for the MPOs and FPOs where they're vying for huge cash, that is, and if you want it to be prestigious, make it prestigious. Make them earn their way there. Make it something special to be there. Don't make it just another weekend. Like, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Aaron Gossage almost won last year.
Yeah.
Where did Aaron come from? He's
only the second best player in the world, Carrie.
I know. Right? We could talk about James Conrad, won nothing up to Worlds and has not won anything since Worlds. A fabulous human being, kindest gentleman out there, so good at what he does, but
he got a USDGC in there as well. He got a USDGC.
He's got the holy shot at Worlds, and he beat Macbeth in a playoff. But all I'm saying is, it just takes one good weekend. So the preserve one good weekend. Like, let's just pick the weekend and call it the Worlds. That's my take.
All right. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and I think they could probably start to mix in. There's too many people playing disc golf now where you just say anybody that wants to play an MPO at Worlds can play. Yeah. I think having the tiered rating based sign up would probably be a good way to go. But I will disagree. All sports is totally arbitrary. The NHL playoffs is on right now, and it's like, why is this game tomorrow any more important than a game that they played in October? It's all totally arbitrary, and I think
they earned their way to that game. Not every team gets to play this weekend. They earned their way in, didn't they?
Yeah, but there's no more impressive. There's no more impressive win than if you tell everybody, okay, this is the weekend where your name is going to be in the history books, your face is going to be on pdga.com for the rest of the year. That is immediately that's the hardest tournament to win because of
Absolutely.
stress and pressure. So it's no matter where you put it, no matter what course it's on, no matter what time of year it's on, no matter if you have 200 or 400 or 600 people, if you say this is the one weekend a year where you have to show up and all the pressure's on you, that immediately becomes the hardest tournament to win and therefore is the most impressive.
I'll argue course.
All right.
If you're a bomber and you throw you out at Country Club in Emporia, or you put you at like, I'm super happy it's at Smugs this year because there's a mix of open and wood. And I think if we're going to have a world champion, the toolbox needs to be tested. Sidearm, turnover, tight woods, wide open fairways. Like there needs to be a course where the whole toolbox is tested. Someone that can throw 600 feet and putt from circle 2 should not win the world championships. That shouldn't be the course they win on.
Yeah.
So that's why I like W.R. Jackson every year. That's becoming a major that, just like you said, USDGC and Throw Pink, you know what you're playing. And there's some prestige to that. Being able to beat that course is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's
I'm
my
with
take.
you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
I'm glad.
They could hold it at Smugs every year. Maybe go back to the Fort every now and then. That was a fun course too.
The Fort was good. Take the golf course out of it.
Take the golf course. Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah.
Pass.
You didn't like the ribbon triple mando across a golf course fairway? That's not disc golf to you?
My favorite was let's paint the hazards in the middle of the night between rounds. As a TD, I'm still stunned. I'm not understanding how you can do that. Change the course.
Yeah.
And and nobody, like I've played in B and C tiers where the TDs were smart enough to know, like, man, these sand traps are going to cause some arguments. Like,
yeah,
yep,
totally.
We're painting ours.
We had that at Golden. I was like, these paths, they're very obviously paths. We are painting them because some people will argue that that's not a path.
But Simon Lizotte had a really good take on this. If you have to discuss it, benefit to the player.
Yeah.
If it's a discussion, if we have to come over and we have to argue about a blade of grass, benefit to the player, done. Simon said if they're discussing, he won't even go over. He just like benefit and he just like waves from the tee box.
Yeah.
Because that's the rule. If you can't come to a consensus, benefit to the player. So now if we're standing over a blade of grass and we're trying to figure out and we're on our knees, benefit to the player, speed of play.
Yeah.
So it's a good, I love that. I was just like, hey, that's pretty cool. I like it. But you're right. When you're running B and C tiers, and you can't even say that. We're watching it on Jomez where they're arguing over like cement and grass just growing out of the crack of the cement and my disc's touching it. And it's like, it's desperate times.
Yeah, totally. All right. We're going to transition a little bit into a little debate. We are running a little bit long, but that's fine because
we can just do your mystery question. We can hold the debate for another time.
We just debated.
Sure. Yeah, there we go.
That was
we got that
debate.
Okay,
that was fun.
We'll save the debate for later. But we will get into the mystery question because it does involve Carrie, and it has to do. So the Champions Cup.
How does she putt so well?
Well, no, the Champions Cup. It has a history. If for those that don't know, I believe it was before last year, they were going to introduce a controversial format where it was going to be regular play and then match play or vice versa. Anyways, it got kiboshed because it was a dumb idea. I have a silly question for you guys. And since Carrie is a substitute co-host, I'd be curious to get you guys' opinions on team disc golf where you could substitute your players for certain throws. What do you guys think about that for a format? Or you have a team.
You mean like we're walking around like 7 players?
Yeah, 4 players. 4 players a team, and
4 players a team.
It's kind of like doubles. It's like best throw, but you only get one throw. It's like only one person from your team throws for that throw. So you pick who throws based on their skill. Or based on what they want to do, and obviously you'd have to introduce some like.
And you want this like as a sanctioned event, like
no, not as a sanction, just as fun. Like, what do you think? How do you think that
fun event? I think it's great. On tour, I think it has no place.
No, definitely not.
Just like 1 round match play, 1 round stroke play, 1 round. When the rest of my year's all based on stroke play, no. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a cool idea. That'd
But
be
even
fun.
like, okay, let's say the All
So
Stars
strategic.
for
We
for
don't
the
we
all
don't decide ahead of time. We decide on the fly.
yeah. Yeah, on the
Ooh.
fly. Yeah.
Ooh,
So it's
I like
like
that.
someone throws the drive and then you have to decide who's going to throw the next throw.
So
I'd
who's
say,
And
joining our threesome here? Like, who are we picking? I'm already in. Sounds like so much fun.
Yeah.
well,
I
let me
like
tell
it.
you, I'm not very good at putting, but I am not very good at throwing. So, I'll throw down a berg roller when we're in the rough. That'll be my spot. I'll call dibs on
Okay.
scrambling with a berg roller.
Okay. Are we age protected, division protected, or is it just mix it up and go for it?
Mix it up and go for it.
I really like that. That's a cool format for a day. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting.
Honestly, I think that would be more fun than doubles at the All-Star event.
That's
I find
what
like
I was thinking.
watching doubles is not necessarily that exciting at the pro level.
Yeah. No, I
think
agree.
if you had all the players mic'd up, or at least the people that you were following on a card, and you had them having to decide who was going to take that putt or who was going to, throw through that tight gap
Yeah.
off the
Right.
tee, and then see them crumble because teamwork is a tenuous and delicate thing. See them crumble and go at each other when it doesn't go well. That would be compelling television to me,
Totally.
and also
No,
the
I
thrill
like
of
it.
victory.
That's a very cool thing. I'm running out of time this summer, but I was going to do a 666 doubles event. So your first
Cool.
6 holes are stroke play and you take the best score. So if you got a 3 and I got a 2, we take mine. Next are best shot, and then next are alternate shot. And then you mix
That's
it up
pretty
for your
cool.
next 18 and you go by
Yeah.
divisions, and we could do mixed doubles or whatever. But yeah. So
I love that.
I
Interesting.
like unique fun things that get people out playing.
And we
Totally.
can worship Satan at the same time, Carrie. Great idea.
Yeah.
I'll
Maybe
find a
not.
Friday the 13th or to do it on. So,
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
but yeah, no,
All
I think
right.
that's a cool idea.
Yeah, good job, Andre. You should patent that. You should make a name for it.
Maybe.
Put your name in the name so people know
Put
who
it
invented
together. Make a tournament in the fall
Yeah.
and put it
Just
together.
a fun little tournament. Yeah.
it. We're playing this one by the Lauder system. That's how you
Yeah,
got to introduce
The
it.
Lauder
Like,
system. Okay.
whoever that Stableford guy was that reinvented ball golf scoring, and he's
Yeah.
like, whatever, it's mine. It's Stableford. I'm John
Yeah.
Stableford, and this is the Stableford scoring. Now you have the Lauder.
All right. I think it'll take a little bit of refining, but yeah, no, I think it's a fun thing. Substitute disc golfers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Carrie,
Yeah.
I know that you're an old pro at this podcasting thing, and if for whatever reason you're listening to this podcast and you have not listened to Carrie's podcast, Carrie, tell us about the flight paths. Before you tell, I'm going to tell you my favorite thing about the flight paths is that it pairs up a veteran disc golfer with somebody that is still learning a lot of the ropes, but both about the sport, how to play the sport, but also sort of the culture of the sport. That to me is the most fun part of your podcast. Sorry to interrupt. Please tell us about your podcast.
You just told everyone about it. That was literally the whole idea. So Clive, I hate saying COVID disc golfers. Like Clive got into it because of COVID, and we have mutual friends from other parts of our lives that we didn't really know were mutual friends. And he saw me at the course one day and we chatted. And then at TCO last year, there's lots of time to hang out at Tournament Central. So he came in and sat down with me and he's like, I have this idea. And he runs a podcast on like a rock and roll music, which is really cool. And he said, so I've got all the experience. I got all the editing. I got everything. I just need some input. And so we were going to call it the newbie and the OG, or the OG and the newbie. But I said, we don't want to say that because you won't be a newbie forever. Like it, you're going to be 4 or 5 years into it. You're not a newbie anymore. So we came up with Flight Pass. Like he has a flight that his disc takes. I have a flight that mine takes, and we come to the same spot to finish. Right. And it's exactly what it's based on. It's maybe I can enlighten him about something about the sport he didn't know. And he reminds me about the stuff I've forgotten about or taken for granted. And I've talked about that. I'm very quick to be remiss and and apologize if I take something for granted. But yeah, it's and I love that part of it. Like we have very different takes from being very new and very jaded. Just kidding. Not jaded at all, but with experience comes experience. So yeah. And it's very cool. I mean, and at first I used some of my connections to get people on the podcast, but it is all Clive. Clive does all the calling, all the emailing, I guess, not calling, emailing, DMs, lines everybody up. And we just have we always have 3 questions we ask at the end. And other than that, it just kind of like when Jen Allen's interview comes out, it's probably the most beautiful, humbling conversation I've had with a human being yet. It was amazing.
I'm excited.
Very excited. Yeah, she's a pretty cool human.
You also mentioned Nate Sexton. You got Nate Sexton on. That's
yes.
It's funny because
we almost had Nate coming to Kamloops next week, but it's his birthday, so he's committed to 2024. So
good.
Yeah. Nate, it was very cool talking to Nate too. So, and we've had Joe Henderson, and Missy Gannon. We had locals, Stu McKissick and Chris Hartman with InDesign that designed disc golf courses. They've been on. Scott Stokely twice. We have another one coming out with Scott. I was really sick and I couldn't do it, so Clive did the tour of Japan with Scott and had a hour and a half long conversation, and actually got into a bit of a debate about ratings. So if they're important or not. So that'll be cool. That'll be coming out too. So we've got a bunch of them lined up. But yeah, Jackie Morris was my big bucket list one to have. So I'm glad that one happened.
I was going to say at the beginning of your podcast, you guys mentioned a few names that you guys would have as your like bucket list podcast guests. And I think Nate Sexton's on mine. So
there you go.
Living vicariously through you.
No, it's super cool. And you know what? Like, we have such a casual, like, just like tonight, like we're just chatting, right? Literally we're having conversations, and we don't do video, but we do video when we interview, so we can see each other and expressions and stuff. And not a single one has been awkward or weird, like just good conversations. Like they're people too, right?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
That newer era of recreational disc golfers that are like all in, like got the $1,000 setup, and they're like, don't even have a rating yet. They think it's so cool, and they're fanboys and fangirls. Whereas, like I said, for me, I've been in it long enough. And like Sarah Hokum, she's someone like I'll text her. Eric McCabe, I text with him. So, you get in it long enough and you create these relationships, and it's been educational for me. Like I take what I can from those relationships and I educate myself, and it's humbling. Hanging out with Zoe Andike at All Stars for the weekend was so humbling. Like the things she's done for the sport with Uplay, super cool stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. That means a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Clive
we'll
has
have
a very
you guys on. You guys can talk about how you got into all of this.
Give us a few more years to do some interesting things, Carrie.
You guys are interesting though. Look what you're doing. Like I already said it for Canada. You guys are like Canada's Jomez. Like you guys are amazing.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, Carrie.
You guys said nice things about me. Now you have to take it. I say nice things about you.
I have a hard time taking compliments. But no, you can listen to Flight Pass wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When are you guys thinking about doing video podcasting, or is that something that's not down the pipeline?
Because Clive is our guy that does all the editing, everything, and he works full time. I would like to, because I'm all about who cares if you drop an F-bomb, it's edit. We're humans, but he wants a little more refined, and I agree. Sometimes he takes out all the ums and the uhs and the awkward stuff, or I went off on a tangent, and we definitely removed that. I didn't want to create any waves. So, we might one day, or if it's someone really cool, like a really great guest that we could get on, and but we will be on the Friday night. I think we're going to set up at Tournament Central, and I think it might be a live. He's going to see if he can get a YouTube channel going or something, and just grab people and see how their rounds went and talk about their experience and how things are going. And so we'll see if we can make that happen.
Sorry, you said that was Friday night?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if we can help, I was going to say, if we can help with that in any way, let us know.
Sweet.
Might have the software and stuff to make it work. So.
Oh, Ooh, maybe I'll get Clive to send you a little email and get,
Yeah.
because that is not me. I
We
just
might
show up and Clive makes me look great. Again, surround yourself with fantastic people, right?
totally. I was gonna say we might be busy editing stuff on Friday night, but if we can make anything work, then we will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome, Carrie. Thank you so much for coming on, taking over the co-host duties of Jesse. Jesse will hopefully be back next week. But yeah, he did a great job filling in for him. So
Thank you. Are you guys doing one next week? Yeah. Even though do it from Kamloops. Jesse will be there.
I'm actually thinking I might, like, I'll probably bring my mics just in case.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is that, they're pretty easy to move. So possibly, yeah.
And there's going to be some disc golfers out there, so there's
There's gonna be a
bound to be
few.
somebody to talk to about disc golf.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
Sorry
for
I
sure.
talked so much.
No, it's great. That's our podcast listeners are used to our podcast running a little bit longer, so it all fits in.
Sweet.
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank
from
you
all
so
of
much.
us here at Parked Pro, thank you, Carrie. And we will see you all at, I don't have a funny one, but we'll see you guys at TCO, and it's going to be a blast.
Sweet.
Right. Bye.
Bye.